Imagine the world's brightest rooms, NASA control centers, boardrooms dripping with glass and steel, pristine labs where coffee is banned near the hardware, making mistakes so loud they echo for decades. Now imagine those same mistakes quietly upgrading the rules the rest of us live by. That's this episode. 13 gloriously human blunders that bent history, business, and technology into new shapes. By the end, you won't look at failure, yours or anyone else's, the same way again. We're not here to roast. Okay, a little. We're mostly here to steal playbooks. Because if a $125 million spacecraft can vanish over a unit mix-up and a perfect taste soda can be hated on arrival, then there's a weird comfort. The line between what were they thinking and that changed everything is thinner than a sticky note on a monitor. Buckle up. Lucky number 13 is first. New Coke. When perfect taste lost to memory, Coca-Cola ran taste tests and heard the verdict. Sweeter was better. So they tweaked the sacred formula and launched New Coke. What they missed is that flavor isn't just chemistry, it's identity. People weren't sipping a cola, they were sipping high school games, road trips, family barbecues. The switch triggered a visceral backlash. Calls, protests, pin buttons, and a national vibe of "don't mess with my memories." Within months, Coca-Cola Classic returned and sales bounced. The lesson? Data can tell you what people enjoy, brand tells you what they won't forgive. Takeaway: optimize the product and you might win. Optimize the meaning and you defend a throne you didn't know you were sitting on. Blockbuster laughs at Netflix. 2000? Picture a Dallas boardroom, turn of the millennium. Netflix shows up, a mail-order DVD startup bleeding cash. The pitch: partner with us or buy us for roughly the price of a suburban office park. Blockbuster, king of Friday nights and late fees, passes. Hard. Netflix doubled down on removing friction. Blockbuster doubled down on store traffic. Streaming arrives. One side scales servers, the other turns off fluorescent lights for good. The obvious decision wasn't obvious in the moment because incumbents often optimize what made them big, not what will keep them big. Takeaway: convenience compounds. If your competitor is deleting steps and you're adding signage, you're writing your own "remember when?" Kodak invents digital, then shelves its future. 1975 2000s. In 1975, a Kodak engineer named Steve Sasson built a toaster-sized camera that stored grainy images to tape. The company even patented the idea, but the margins lived in film. Digital looked like a threat to the golden goose, so the goose got wintered indoors. The world moved anyway. When the first real digital wave hit consumers, Kodak had the patents and the pedigree, but not the posture. Today, that prototype sits in a museum. The memo sits in every MBA case study about self-disruption. Takeaway: if you don't cannibalize yourself on purpose, the market will do it for you with fewer napkins. Intel's Pentium FDIV bug. When math broke trust. Buried deep in a lookup table on the original Pentium lived a tiny error that made division slightly wrong at rare decimals. Most humans wouldn't notice. The internet and mathematicians did. Intel initially pushed back. Then came the first mass recall of a consumer CPU and a $475 million charge. The issue wasn't just arithmetic, it was assurance. Chips are black boxes we choose to trust. When the box coughs, you can't hand people a data sheet. You hand them a return label and a plan. Takeaway: in invisible products, the product is confidence. Guard it like inventory. Mars Climate Orbiter, lost in translation. Two teams. One speaks metric, one speaks U.S. customary. Space speaks neither, it just does physics. A thruster data file used pound seconds, while the navigation software expected Newton seconds. The probe dipped too low and was lost behind Mars. The cost was money and morale. The gift was a permanent tattoo on systems engineering. Declare your units everywhere, forever, and build processes that catch what a smart human will miss on a long Tuesday. Takeaway: measure twice, launch once isn't a joke, it's a checklist heading. Ariane 5 Flight 501, copy-pasted assumptions. The new Ariane 5 reused code from Ariane 4, where certain numbers never got too big. On 5, they did. A large value got shoved into a smaller container. The inertial reference system threw up its hands. The rocket self-destructed seconds after liftoff. The lesson wasn't never reuse code, it was reuse code and revisit assumptions. Old constraints don't always fit new muscles. Every upgrade deserves an interrogation, not a rubber stamp. Takeaway: port code, not context blindness. 7-night capital, $440. Million in 45 minutes, 2012. A dormant flag in trading software woke up in production like a gremlin after espresso. Orders sprayed the market. The firm bled hundreds of millions before anyone could hit a kill switch because there wasn't a real one. Postmortem showed warning emails nobody treated as alerts and deployment practices that assumed tomorrow would look like yesterday. For high-speed systems, "we'll catch it" is not a plan. "It can't happen" is a myth. When it happens, "it stops here" is policy. Takeaway: ship fast, roll back faster, and practice the rollback before you need it. The Rack 2.5. When software was a medical device, a concurrency bug in a radiation therapy machine paired with thin safeguards delivered overdoses that harm patients. It's one of the hardest case studies to read in software history. The fix wasn't write better code, it was humility and engineering discipline, interlocks, independent checks, usability that resists error, and teams who treat "it can't happen" as a design smell. Safety is not an NPS score, it's a stack of redundancies. Takeaway: in safety-critical work, speed is a rounding error. Rigor is the number. Coming up, a bridge that learned to dance and lost, a retail giant beaten by barcodes, and yes, the phone that could not legally board a plane. Target Canada. Big launch, brittle data. Target bought a bunch of former Zeller's leases and sprinted into a new country. The trouble started in the plumbing. Bad item data, imperfect barcodes, troubled inventory systems. Shelves went empty, promises went stale. Expansion isn't about red paint and signage, it's boring, relentless master data excellence. When the database stutters, the store blushes on Instagram. Target eventually pulled out and the case joined the canon of crawl, walk, run in supply chain. Takeaway: new markets aren't won on launch day, they're won in spreadsheets 6 months earlier. Tacoma Narrows Bridge. Beauty meet physics. Galloping Gertie was slender, elegant, and susceptible. Wind-excited torsional flutter modes. The oscillations grew until the bridge failed. The footage looks like a ribbon dance until you remember it's steel and concrete. That failure rewrote design practice, aeroelastic testing, wind tunnel work, deck stiffness, and damping as headline features. The bridge taught engineers to design not just for loads, but for the choreography of air. Takeaway: nature doesn't care if it's within spec, it cares if it's stable. 3 Titanic lifeboats, compliant and catastrophic. Titanic met the letter of the rules, which were written for smaller ships. She carried lifeboats for roughly a third of the people aboard. Space wasn't the limiting factor, imagination was. The disaster forced new standards for capacity and drills across the industry. Sometimes the price of changing an old form is unthinkable until it's paid. Then it becomes obvious and mandatory forever. Takeaway: regulations are minimums, responsibility is maximums. Samsung Galaxy Note 7, when batteries became headlines. A phone with a stellar debut started overheating in pockets and on planes. Investigations found design and manufacturing issues in the lithium-ion cells. The company didn't just recall units, it re-architected its entire battery safety program and QA culture. Hardware taught software's favorite lesson. Ship cycles are fun, safety cycles are law. And once the FAA tells people not to turn on your product at 30,000 feet, your brand learns what reputational drag feels like. Takeaway: quality isn't a department, it's a refusal to gamble with physics. Dieselgate. Clever code, costly decade. 2015. Software detected when cars were on a test stand and dialed emissions down for the exam, then cranked them up on the open road. The fines, buybacks, leadership changes, and global legal fallout turned clean diesel into a punchline and a pivot point for the auto industry. You can outsmart a lab protocol, you cannot outsmart the compound interest of broken trust, regulators, and the internet. Takeaway: if ethics isn't part of the spec, the bill arrives later with interest. Bonus: the 3-line playbook. Write the failure in one sentence without excuses. List the assumptions that snapped. Add one guardrail you'll install tomorrow morning. Do it for your team, your product, your next launch. New Coke becomes protect brand memory. Mars becomes units and interfaces are first-class citizens. Night becomes kill switches and dry runs. Repeat for anything you care about? Yes. even your diet or your calendar. We love these stories because they're messy and familiar. No one sets out to make a legendary mistake, but every mistake you just heard also shipped a better standard. Better units, better guardrails, better design, better honesty. If this gave you a mental checklist you can actually use, drop a comment with the blunder you want next and the lesson you're stealing. And if you're still here at the end, you're exactly the kind of person this channel is for. See you next week for another 13.